Hi.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good evening,
And good afternoon for us.
Oh, okay.
We are 2 o'clock.
Good evening to you.
Good evening. Good everywhere. Gabor. I see Gabor here.
I am here.
That's great. You
And
joined us from
David,
Canada.
David,
Oops.
Peter, and Marcia Bloom.
Yeah.
Peter. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Peter. Long time no see.
Mark.
We are getting a lovely group joining Mark and Bridget.
That's right.
Yeah. Hi,
Wonderful
Mark.
to see all over the world too.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, David.
Hi, Peter.
Yeah.
Marcia, hello.
Hello.
There's Mark's captain. Yeah. Sam's here. Consuelo. Hello.
Ciao, Marcia and Peter. Ciao, Mark.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Yes, I took a workshop with yours a long time ago, Consuelo. It was quite nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Glad
you.
you're
Thank
here.
you,
Yeah.
Bridget.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, there is Consuelo.
Yes.
Just found you.
Ciao. Ciao. With a broken arm.
Oh my heavens, what happened?
Oh, well, I was on the bike. And I did something wrong, so the wrist is broken. And the 11th, I have a surgery. So,
Aw.
yes.
Was
Ouch.
it a compound fracture?
Yes.
Was it sticking through the skin?
Yeah, no, not thank you.
That's the way it was.
Well, Mark and Bridget, we still have people joining, but we're kind of steady right now. We are hosting this here through ASCH. So I'm the facilitator. If anyone has any technical issues, I think we're all pretty good with Zoom at this point. You can certainly chat feature is available to anyone. And obviously, if you don't mind muting yourself when you're not talking, that'll help for any feedback for Bridget and Mark during today's conversation. So
I have to leave in 10 minutes because of a doctor's appointment, and I couldn't break it. And so I'm a short timer.
Well, yeah. So why don't you, do you have any questions or comments or what's going on with your life?
Oh, I have a
Shall I tell them what we were just saying?
right.
We were just saying, we must be the dullest people around because we were sitting here for 5 minutes waiting for the screen to come on. You know? And we had nothing better to do. So at 85, I think life, slows down a lot.
I have a balance problem, and
Stay off bikes, Peter. Stay off bikes.
Pardon?
Yeah,
Stay off bikes.
we're just trying to get walking. Walking is good.
Well, it's lovely to have you. Where are you from?
We in Media, Pennsylvania, in eastern
Philadelphia.
the suburb of Philadelphia.
Okay. That's lovely to have you join. How long have you been with ASCH or ISH?
1970s.
1976.
Yep, Peter has been the president of virtually every hypnosis society in the world at one time or another.
No, I don't think he was ever of ASH.
I was not of ASH, and I was not of SCH, although I ran twice. But I was beaten by 2 women, and wonderful women, and that worked very well for me.
Peter, it's wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
Who is that? Oh, there's one
Karen.
of the wonderful women. Hi, Karen.
So I'll sign out and I'll hear everybody else's conversations. And so there we are.
Great. So happy to have you. And if you have any ideas on the modernization that we're doing with ASCH, please forward them to me at bbongaard@gmail.com, or just send them to Molly. And it'll get to me. And but we love to have everybody's input, because these are very exciting times.
Well, the registration is always keynote, and anytime you can make that work, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that this platform isn't necessarily the ideal one for all of us to get together and chat. And we'll be looking at alternative platforms in the future that will allow us to move around in rooms. But there's so many of us, and because we can't all talk all at once, I think we would love to hear anybody with any comments about what's happening in the world of hypnosis in your world, and any questions or comments you might have for us to have a conversation. And feel free to put anything in the chat, or just unmute and offer some ideas and thoughts.
The robust conversation is exhilarating.
Some things never change.
Right, that's right.
You have to be the first one to speak.
Well, I mean, how many people have been doing hypnosis online or virtual hypnosis? Yeah. Interesting. Great. Any benefits from that you've seen, or any problems, or have you had to modify your techniques and maybe choose different inductions?
Hi, can I add? This is Dr. Alfred Miramontes. I'm a brand new member at ASCH.
Great, thank you.
I've been practicing hypnotherapy for about 2.5 years on a volunteer basis. And yeah, I started doing it online due to the pandemic that was going on with actually I'm based in San Diego, and with a client in the state of Washington, and had very good results. At first time when I did it, I wasn't sure how I'd be able to visualize the client and see how they were reacting to suggestions that I was giving them, but it turned out to be very successful. So I was really, really happy with the results of it.
That's wonderful. How about anybody else want to give some comments, particularly if you're in a specialty field? I'd like to hear from Karen Olness. Are you not in Charlotte? Oh, where's Karen?
I'm in Minnesota.
You're in Minnesota. Oh, okay. There's another Karen Olness that practices in Charlotte that does eating disorders. So I was really keen to hear anybody who had some insights in what they were doing for eating disorders.
Yeah, well, I'd be very interested to know another. Of course, I pronounce it Karen Olness, but
sorry.
I mean, if it's really the same spelling, that's remarkable. I'd like to. We must be distant cousins.
I think we're all cousins in this field here. So does anybody have any insights on eating disorders? So I recently became medical director for an eating disorder outpatient clinic. And I'm really keen to get some advice from my colleagues about what people are doing and how you're approaching that with hypnosis. Yeah.
I haven't done hypnosis with eating disorder, but I have done mindfulness.
Ah, okay.
And that actually is helpful. You just, although it's going to be a little probably not easy for a client to do it, but yes, you try to make them so mindful of what they are eating, like whatever, but when they are eating it, whatever they are eating, try to see, is it warm? Is it cold? Where is it? Is it in my tongue? Is it in my and keep just going down little by little, and how much it is, how do I feel about it. So by the time actually it's you start eating less and less, if it is overeating problem is one of them. And mindfulness actually, I have to see if I can find the book also that has a lot of ideas about mindfulness for different kind of mental health. And so one of them was eating disorder, and that was one of the things that actually is helpful for people who have problem with eating. So they are pretty mindful about what they are eating, how much they are eating, and then they try to do less and less calorie or whatever. And so it takes a lot of time to even get one bite, to get it down in the stomach, and from esophagus to go all the way to I think to the stomach and all those kind of things. So I mean, I will try to see if I can give you also the name of the book if I can find it right now in my library while you're doing the other.
Thank you so much for that. Akira Otani, Dr. Otani just wrote a wonderful article in the Journal of Clinical Hypnosis. It was in I think it was the edition before, and it was about using mindfulness. It's called touch and go therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would touch the experience and then go back to the breath, and touch the experience and go back to the breath, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would really highly recommend his article as well for anybody else who has a clinical conundrum, and these folks can really do that because most of them have complex trauma.
Yeah. What was the name of the person you said?
Akira, Akira, and then Otani, Otani. And so he mixes not only mindfulness, but what's it called? Loving kindness into his protocols. But it was quite a lovely article. So I'm going to take that back to my center and see what we could do to use that type of approach.
I've used a very similar, this is Frank Jasper in Cincinnati. I've used a very similar approach to using hypnosis and making people acutely aware of what they're eating, how it tastes, the texture, the saltiness, sweetness, bitterness, whatever, and eating just the right amount that they need, not too much or too little, but just the right amount, good, healthy, nutritious food. And just continuing to repeat that with them seemed to be very, very helpful, and doing it in different sort of different approaches, but basically using a very similar mindfulness approach using hypnosis. And I found that quite effective with overeating, as well as with people who were undereating, to make them aware of it and get them to eat just the right amount. So that's the approach that I've used.
Gosh, thanks, Frank.
You're welcome.
And Frank, when you say you do a kind of mindfulness hypnotically, is kind of what I'm hearing. Do you do kind of an induction and then you make suggestions for mindful action, or how does that work?
Right. I'll use the relaxation techniques mainly to get them in a very, very relaxed state, and then get them to visualize eating some of their one man I had, he was so big he couldn't fit on the physician's scale, and his favorite food was potato chips. And by the time, after about a year working together, he said his favorite food was still potato chips, but he'd eat just a little handful of them and get more satisfaction than he would out of a double bagger, which he used to eat before. And getting him to focus on the texture, the taste, the snappiness of it, the saltiness of it, and just deriving all the pleasure he could from these potato chips. And he incorporated it and lost a lot of weight, so much that his t-shirts were getting baggy on him. Of course, he lost a considerable amount, but you know, when you got a 3 or 4X t-shirt, it you know, they start to hang on you when you get down to a more normal size. So he was still pretty big when he quit, but he said, "I don't need to see you anymore. I got your voice locked in my head." And so that's similar to what Fresha was describing. So.
You know, I recognize people from all over the world here, and and I know this is hosted by ASCH and ISH, and clearly there are people from the USA here, but I'm also, and I see Italy, Germany. I'm curious what other countries are represented here.
Hello, this is Can Danesin from Turkey.
Oh,
welcome. Welcome.
And I'm here from France, Marcel Châtel from France here.
France, wonderful.
Okay.
This is Marcello from Uruguay. Jensen, say hi.
Hey, Marcello, good to see you.
How are you?
Doing
I must
well.
say hi to my teacher, Gabor Filó. It's always there.
Oh, yeah.
And also Cecilia Fabre. ¿Cómo estás, Cecilia? Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And the UK.
Oh, hi,
Oh,
Rebecca. Good to see you.
Hi,
Hi.
Rebecca. I'm from the UK as well.
Lovely. Lovely.
Hi, I'm Stella and I'm in Vienna, Austria.
Österreich. Sehr gut.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Marta and I'm from Poland. Consuelo, so good to see you.
Fantastic. Does New Jersey count as a foreign country? You know, that's a good question.
Philadelphia has to drop out. I'm sorry. But it's a wonderful idea. It's so nice.
We need to do this again.
Well, the plan is to do it once a month. And I'm thinking of, for the next platform, there's one where you actually can move around in a room and talk in smaller groups. So I think that might work out a little better, but we'll see how that works. We'll give that a go.
Oh, but we'd have to clean the room.
Bye.
Okay, good to see you, Marcia.
So I'd like to know how people around the world are dealing with the COVID anxiety. How are you having issues with that in your various countries, and how are you dealing with that? Oh, no one has COVID. That's shocking. How about the UK? How about our UK friends there? Rebecca and Hillary, I think it was.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, are you talking about everyone in general or just in regards to hypnotherapy clients?
Well, I mean, what I'm going to do is just open up conversations to how we're using hypnosis during these awkward and difficult times where people feel very separated, they feel very lonely, they feel very anxious. Their world is like pear-shaped, as I think the Brits would say.
I mean, I mainly deal with pain patients. I've got a few who are not. And I think the other patients I deal with have all got pre-existing quite severe mental health issues. And it's been a real struggle for people. I think the loneliness and almost the dissociation from normal life. I mean, it's one of my patients that tend to dissociate quite easily anyway, and I've noticed more of that. It's been very difficult.
That's an interesting comment. It really gave me the chills. Yeah, I agree. How about you, Hillary or Jane?
Right. Yeah. I mean, apart from the fact that the statistics show that there's an increasing number of mental health problems as a result, and also the neurological effects and the psychiatric effects are quite considerable. So there's a lot of data coming out. Obviously, we're understaffed. We have an NHS, which is wonderful, but overloaded. And so the waiting lists are getting longer and longer. The problems are stacking up, and the staff are all exhausted. So it's sort of, yeah, it's difficult. You would sort of assume everybody's in the same boat, but maybe not. Surely all countries are struggling a bit, but I don't know. Are we worse than everybody else? I know we've got more deaths than everybody else, but now we're coming. We seem the vaccination's doing very well. So I don't know how everybody's feeling other parts of the world.
Let's
I'd
open
like
up the
to
floor.
chip in here from the United States. I'm down in Arizona, and I work at a university with nursing students. And so where I'm seeing the anxieties, a lot of these students are having the anxiety not just about COVID, but how it's impacting their education. They're not getting the clinicals that they thought they would be getting. A lot of anxiety for social anxiety. Now that this fall semester, they're starting to integrate back into the classroom. Some of the students think that's really great, and others are very anxious. So some of the approaches I've been doing, because it's not quite appropriate for me to do like a full-blown hypnosis session in a school setting, but I'm using a lot of reframing, combining some of the techniques from the heart math, the biofeedback techniques for helping to regulate the autonomic nervous system. And when they can do that, then they can have better ability to reframe and focus on what is going well and what they can do and have control over. So that's, again, a snapshot, because when you ask about how are we doing in the country, there's so many different venues all of us are working in. And as one person said a little bit ago, yeah, we're all dealing with this in different ways. But from my snapshot of working with the college students, those are some things that I'm trying to do to help them to navigate these waters, because there is a lot of anxiety, the social anxiety now, as well as the isolation that was mentioned earlier, which is causing a lot of depression and anxiety. So again, trying to utilize hypnotic language, utilize the hypnotic ways. In some ways, they're hypnotized into focusing on just what's on the news, the negative. So I'm trying to work to help them have a different focus on what they do have control over, that kind of thing. So that's a take from my little spot in the world.
I love
For those
it.
of you I've yet to have the pleasure of meeting, my name is Rob Staffen, and contrary to what's being presented about the hopelessness, there's also been, I think, this phenomenal connection. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. And I know that North Carolina and New Jersey and Connecticut and Minnesota and other component sections have put together the Hypnotic Idea Exchange. And we in New Jersey are doing the clinical conversations. And I think it's been a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that everybody's got a chance. I mean, so we've got people from Iran and all. I think it's great. And maybe this is just my bright and sunny disposition. I look for the optimistic side of things, but I really think we can take advantage of this learning opportunity and get together like this. I see Lane smiling. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just, sorry to butt in again, but I would agree with those opportunities. And we spoke briefly last time we all met about what the Royal Society of Medicine's doing. And I see Rebecca there. And we had David Spiegel speaking just last week. And we had over 200 delegates from all around the world. And we do seem to be attracting a lot more interest than we've ever attracted before. So it's having a very, very positive effect in the UK. Also, there's even some research going on with COVID patients and hypnosis. So that's just one start. So yeah, I would agree. Lots of positive things as regards lots and lots of negative things regarding COVID, but regarding hypnosis, it is an opportunity. Yeah.
I wonder if we can take advantage of what Mark was saying about breakout rooms. And at this point, can we, do we have some suggestions for him about how to set up those breakout rooms? Do we do it as some of the professional organizations do by type of therapy? Do we do it by type of client? Do we do it by type of problem? How do we set up the categories so that we can flip back and forth and go from group to group and be with the people we want to be with? As part of this Zoom extended professional group, which I think is an amazing experience.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. We used a platform for a happy hour in my department when we had a guest from out of town, and it was actually very interesting. It was a virtual space which had multiple rooms, and you could see who was standing where, and you could move around and move into a group and chat. It was as if you were in a room, walking around in a room talking. So you could find a group and chat and then move around. So I think I'll use that mechanism for our next month's, and I think that will work very well. And if not, we can do a breakout rooms. But in some ways, you want to have the conversation just kind of emerge. We don't know ahead of time what are the topics.
Yeah.
And so, Bridget was raising some really cool ideas about, how people are using Zoom for their work and what's happening with COVID and what's happening around the world. So, but I think we could give that a go next time. Although it's also really wonderful to see all of your faces and to hear your voices. And in fact, before the end of the hour, I would just love to hear everybody just say, at least your name, where you're from, and what you're thinking about these days as well, just in general.
And I love that, Mark. The other thing I'd like to really raise is something that Jane pointed out was the need for self-care for practitioners. Because if we're overloaded and we're doing all of this work, how do we take care of ourselves? And I've recently begun incorporating hypnosis into my life at carving out rest periods, rest meaning short for restoration, self-restoration, and using hypnosis in a 15-minute timed slot in my day to prevent burnout. So I just wanted to share those ideas because that's another thing I think that we all face. I may be presumptuous, but I think these times have been a little more stressful and a little more demanding than even before. So let me open the floor to that, and I'd love to hear from our colleagues in Uruguay and Iran and Mexico and France and Germany and everywhere else as well.
I'm interested to know who's from Iran because I'm in Virginia, but I'm Iranian. I don't know if it's anybody who's from Iran right now.
Yeah,
Inayat's online. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, everybody. This is Inayat from Iran.
Inayat.
Yes. And I didn't know you, Farishte, but it's very nice to meet you here.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. And I think I just lost the discussion. Was it about the traumatic disorders or something about trauma?
Bridget was asking about what do you do to take care of yourself and strategies. And in fact, and I would love to hear how people do it. I have ideas that I do. And Bridget, I'd love to hear it even more detail. What you do in that 15 minutes, do you go to a favorite place? Do you just let your mind wander? Do you have specific self-suggestions you give? I'd be very curious to hear that, just because I could incorporate those ideas in my self-care.
Thank you. As you know, I'm living in a part of the world that there are a lot of traumatic events, let me say every day or every hour. So we should have some strategies to care ourselves. And it's not that easy to find a, let me say, magic way of protecting ourselves. But of course, as a hypnotherapist, I use self-hypnosis, and I teach self-hypnosis to my clients. I have a lot of workshops for the general audience to learn them how to hypnotize themselves and to try to protect themselves by focusing on something that is more pleasurable for them, to have a safe place, to go to their safe place, to be protected from the stressors or stressful events, and to let them scan their bodies to find the signs that their body, the signals that their body may transmit to them, and to find out even if there is some problem somewhere in the body or in the psyche. I'm not speaking about a medical problem. I'm speaking about a bridge that you can make between your emotions or your mental state and your body. I mean, your body can speak about your mental state. So by using these strategies and self-hypnosis and mindfulness, as Farishta said a couple of minutes ago, we can try to protect ourselves from being damaged by these traumatic events. But I also hope that the situation will change, hopefully soon. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jan or Marta. Or anyone. Oh, hey, Linda. Welcome.
David is hey, Linda, David's raising his hand. David?
Yeah, I've got a technique that I use. Instead of creating a pleasant memory, I go back to what was a good memory. And for me, it's skiing down a mountain and feeling absolutely exhilarated, focusing on the mountain, focusing on the curves, feeling my body move back and forth as I enjoy the energy and the focus and the attention. And then when I've got that in mind, I pick a spot to look at, I focus on the spot, and I concentrate on the spot and bring back the experience. Essentially, what I'm doing is bringing back an old memory, a positive old memory, reinstalling it and using it going forward from that moment. And I find that's a very refreshing and exhilarating and useful self-hypnotic technique.
Fantastic. Consuelo.
Yes, since I am in my country house, in my 15 minutes break, I like to go outside and listen to the birds singing. I concentrate only to them, and then I like hug my trees, especially one who has been this winter. It has been a lot of snow, so many branches were broken. So I go there and be in touch with its resilience, because now it's again with a lot of branches. This is my way of being in touch with nature and what nature is still teaching me every day.
That's beautiful. And Marcelo. Thank you, Consuelo. Marcelo, you have a hand?
Hi, Bridget.
Yes.
Well, I'm living in Uruguay, but I'm Italian also. That's why I'm called Marcello. It's spelled like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's C-E-L-L. It's a very easy and funny question, but I go out the backyard, in the garden, the backyard garden. And when I end my clinics, I went to auto hypnosis, but I have a very big wood burner, and I start the fire. I spend lots of minutes just watching the fire, and that's a very good anxiety therapy. It's very good for me. I mentally burn bad thoughts and kind of exercise me also. It's very useful.
Wow, that's super. I've done that with patients as well, to instruct them to do such a thing. Kind of shamanic, but it works beautifully.
Deb, looks like you have your hand up.
Yes. So I'm going to play on Consuelo's, and I think it was David's technique that I find to be very, very helpful. Is I like to take my break outside because I really feel like we need that outdoor time, that opportunity to kind of reconnect with nature. But I also then take my camera, my phone, and I intentionally am just aware and being in the moment, looking for things that bring me joy. So it's like David said, thinking of a time that brought you joy. Well, this is creating one that I take a photograph of. It could be a flower, a cloud pattern, an animal, whatever, because then later, when I am in the day, I can look at those same photos, and through that focus in hypnosis, I can go back to that place that I'm reminded of. And again, like he said, recreate that feeling of being there in the moment. And I have found that my students who actually will do that have found that to be a great new habit. So that's what I like to do.
Can I throw in the fact, the finding that if you repeat something like that 3 times, it's more likely to stick than if you do it once or twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
And
a little research that's kind of interesting. 3 or better.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how many times I go back to those photos. And in fact, this last year, I bought a Nix Play, one of those smart photo frames that you can put in your house. And I have several of these kinds of photos that come up on that. So throughout the day, when I walk past it, it's like, oh, I remember that. And I recreate those moments throughout the day. And I have found it to be so helpful, my own little therapy.
Retrieval is very important.
Yeah. And sometimes as we're getting older, we don't retrieve as well. So having it pop up on the picture frame is very helpful.
First, you got to install, then you can retrieve.
Right, exactly. I love it.
This is wonderful. Thank you. Jan, do I have that right? It's not Dan, it's Jan. Yeah?
That's correct. Totally correct.
And then
being a dentist, I'm in a different situation to most of you. Daily life hasn't really changed a lot for us during COVID, but what has changed a lot is education. So I represent the German Society of Hypnosis in Dentistry, and we have hardly had any education since COVID started. And what I have learned in France, where I lecture for Emergence as well, is that a curricular education in self or auto hypnosis is something that helps a lot, even ourselves. And for that reason, I have started to practice this a lot. And the basic question which I have started to ask every of my patients is now, I realize that most of you don't feel perfectly well when you're in my office, fine, but where actually would you like to be now? And this is a question which has come out to be really, really successful in our practice, and which is now the basic start into self or auto hypnosis. And that's something that I would like to share with everyone.
great, thank you. Gabor, I'm sure you have something to say. being a dentist?
Well, to answer the question, and please forgive my fading in here. In terms of the discussion with respect to anxieties and what have you, again, I agree with you. From the dental phobes and the
Oh goodness, you're breaking up, Gabor.
yeah, I figured I would.
There you go.
It's a message. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We cannot see you now, but
Okay,
that's okay.
I cut off the video because it was beginning to drive me bonkers. It's the quality of my internet provider, I guess. In the dental world, there is some difference with everything, but not much. What intrigued me, however, was the fact that this discussion about self-care. I mean, that 40 years ago, when I started in this esteemed amalgam smithing profession, we were told you've got to look after yourselves because A, nobody likes you, you're unloved, you're unwanted. Everything you do hurts people, so you got to look after yourself. So I find it intriguing that there now seems to be an emphasis on something I would have thought would have been par for the course in any profession. So that intrigues me. I mean, my own self-care methodology is based on walking 5 to 6 miles every Friday in the woods that surround my house. I'm a Tai Chi practitioner for 30 years, so that becomes mindfulness in movement, if you will. And at lunch hour between patients, I go into my head and I don't pick memories, I don't pick anything, I dissolve into nothingness. And then I return, hopefully a little better prepared to deal with whomever comes in. But I'm intrigued by that fact that this idea of self-care is coming to the forefront and isn't just an automatic that all of us are taught at some point in our histories.
Thanks, Gabor. I see a couple other people. Just go ahead and burst in. Lorna or Jane, I see
think,
hands up.
Yeah, Jane's hand's been up for a while, and then Rebecca, and then Lorna, I think.
Okay, let's roll.
Yeah, hi. Yes, I was just going to say that, again, thanks to COVID, we, our society created a pile of audios, a resource page for our, well, for the general public really, but particularly for the other healthcare professionals. And we actually contacted Katalin Varga, who was very helpful. And one of our group created something called Relax and Recharge, which was a 6-minute audio recording, which a lot of our anaesthetists said they found utterly invaluable, because when they were having a break, they'd just go and they'd sit quietly somewhere and do a very quick relax and recharge. And we had amazing feedback from it. So, and we also created a thing for our ITU patients, audio recordings. So there's been huge developments. Anyway, just thought I'd mention it.
That's great. Can you put that in the chat as to where that might be available? Jane, would that be, or is it proprietary?
Yeah, no. I'll, I don't know how good I am on the technology, but yeah, there's a link to this page. There are a choice of audios, but as I say, the 6-minute relax and recharge, we had particularly good feedback on. Yeah, I'll send the link if I can master the technology.
Thank you.
Just trying to put my hand down. That's the difficult bit. Once I've mastered that, I'll try the other. Okay.
All right, Rebecca. Thank you, love.
Hi. There's something I do which I've adapted from something that was taught me a while ago by one of our senior hypnotherapists. I can't remember who it was, but Jane or Hilary might know, because I'm sort of the Biscuit people. But it was something called, a brief intervention called feet on floor, bum on seat for the GPs, the general practitioners, where between patients, where they see people very quickly, and they've already got a minute, they will just center themselves again. But the way I've adapted that, both patients, but also I use it a lot myself, and I also have taught it to my colleagues, is to get a very brief benefit when you've only got a few seconds. Starting if it's a client or patient under hypnosis, I teach them a form of anchoring, which is just really a breath in and out, letting their body relax, and then go to whatever place they want to do a little bit of ego strengthening, whatever it is, but it's very, very quick. And it only takes a few seconds. And one thing I always put in, I say, well, when you open your eyes, the world will seem brighter, and always it seems it does, and then they get a sense that things have worked. So for me, because it's a sign, you let your body relax, it's very embodied, which for my pain patients is great. But if anyone, if you're tense, it just gets you relaxed. But it probably takes about 10 seconds. Maybe we call it hypnosis. I think it is hypnosis, but you go somewhere else and come back. It's very quick and it's effective.
Oh, it's lovely. And so do you have a script that you could post or share then, Rebecca?
Doesn't need a script. It can be whatever you want. You just close your eyes and then relax, and you can think of your place. If you want to go to a place, you can think of whatever you want to do. The script is whatever you want it to be. It's just that the anchor is just closing your eyes and relaxing, because that's quite hypnotic. It's like a mini induction. It just works.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Lorna.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So for me, the beginning stages of the pandemic were brutal, because my patients all needed extra sessions. People wanted to come back. And in addition, the strain of focusing on people online was just exhausting. And so I ended up with a couple of Zoom related injuries. One was bursitis in my hip from just sitting for after hour listening to everybody so stressed out, and the other one was eye strain. So I developed a self-care routine my gym, of course, closed, and I live in the city. And so what I did was I took a season pass out to a kayaking place on the Charles River in Boston. And so I kind of arranged my schedule so I had some blocks of time. And so whenever I would have one of those blocks of time, I would just zip over to the Charles, hop in a kayak, and just go up and down the river. And it was perfect in terms of being meditative and nature and greenery and exercise. And I just can't recommend it enough. I also recommended it to my clients who were similarly stressed out. Very simple, but wonderful.
Wow, that's fabulous. Anybody else have any other thoughts on quick self-care bite? Either one. Camden, is it Camden and
John, simply John.
Oh, excuse me.
You can call me simply John. Thank you.
Okay, simply John. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind. During the COVID time, I had to close my office because I was doing psychotherapy also. So I engaged in a hobby, which is welding. I watched many videos and I started to learn welding. It's a kind of hypnotic action, because when you wear the mask, you only hear the voice of that stick electrode and your breath, and you only concentrate on this lighting. And everything dissolves at that time. All you are watching of what you are doing. And I love it very much. I can change my occupation.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Sartesh?
Actually,
yeah, Marcel, next.
The initial question also you had was not only what we do for ourselves in this COVID, but also how you talked about the depression and anxiety of the clients and what can help them. Although I'm not a gardener much, my husband is. He's one of his masters is in agriculture engineering. So we have a big house, and he has his own herb garden and whatever. What I do, which I'm not much of a gardening, he takes care of it. But I just go, and we have nice tomatoes and cucumber and tarragon and stuff. So I pick them up, and when I'm doing it, I really am a little mindful about just that moment. And I think mindfulness actually helps me too. And I think I go with the 1 minute mindfulness. And then at that moment, actually, with the definition that Kabat-Zinn has on the mindfulness, I just think about something very specific or focus on something, whether it's a bird sound or whether it's the tomato that I like, it's look very nice, or a deep breathing or whatever it is. I just focus on that in specific way. And then I don't think about the past and I don't think about the future. I just think about the moment. And that's only takes about 1 minute. And of course, the one who came up with 1 minute, Dr. Atkins also says that you can do it 3 times in a day, and then you can add to it. So that kind of keep my mind from these other things. But what I do about the things with the clients as well is that what is the positive about the COVID things, and what have you learned that you're going to change in future when the COVID is going to gone? What are you things you learn about it that it's going to be helpful for future? For example, being much more neat and very, healthy cleaning, and also being careful about, the germs. I'm not saying to be obsessive about it, but I think the good things I learned myself. I started having a Zoom meeting with my high school friends that for 50 years or more, I haven't heard about them and I didn't know where they were. I knew 2 of them in the United States, but now I have a friend join us from Germany. I have somebody who joined from Iran. I have somebody who joined from different part, from Europe and from other kind of them, which is great. I mean, I just looking forward to have that one once a month and meet with them. These are the positive things, like the Zoom meeting that I think Mark was talking about it. All these opportunities I didn't have before. I can attend to all of these meetings, like from New Jersey, from Virginia, that I'm a member, from ASCH, other ones, from Hypnosis, Idea Exchange, and all of those things, which is really great. And I really enjoy it. And these are the things I see about the good and the positive things about it. And I try to help clients think about that instead of thinking about all the negative things that happens. And also I use the things that good memories from past and try for them to bring it into their memory and then think about those moments.
That's great. There's a lot of people hitting the same points here. So that's a very successful tool. Marcel, did you want to also comment? Thank you.
Okay, most of them.
You'll have to unmute, love. Marcel.
Yes. Okay, it's okay now.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. So, well, I don't have anything very special to say, but between patients, most of the time I've kept my habits that I had during all my life to take 1 or 2 minutes to get, I would say, rid of the previous issue, previous problem, and so to get ready to welcome the next one. And most of the time I am very lucky right now because I have the opportunity to look through the window to a courtyard with a lot of green plants and sometimes some birds also. So in a very short while, just enough to get your brain able to welcome the next patient. And at the end of the day, most of the time, I think it's very simple. I have to walk from my office to my apartment. It's almost 1 kilometer. And along the way, well, I have to look around. Initially, most of the time, I'm thinking about the patients I have seen during the day, thinking about what I have done, the answers I have given, and maybe what I should have said or not said, and whether should have been or not been. Well, I am thinking about it, but before I would say halfway, I think I am almost clean of everything because I have looked at the windows around, I have looked to many people, and I think I am ready to start another type of activity. And I think it's enough for cleaning up my mind. Well, of course, later on I will come back of what has been the main issue of the day, but it depends. Okay. So very casual thing to do. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
That's
that's
lovely.
fine.
And we're almost done. And Valerie says, great discussion. Have to look for another appointment. Look forward to next time. Put in a plug for yoga practice. Once you practice regularly, you can automatically utilize signs of tension as a reminder to let go. And so I just wanted to put that. And I see Lorna's hands up, but I'm going to turn it back to Mark. We have 3 minutes. Or Lorna, do you have something quick?
No, does she have her own transportation?
Someone's got their microphone on and we're hearing your clinical discussion with a patient. Oops.
Okay, well,
There we go, love. Thanks.
I'll wait to hear
Anyone
from you.
else? Mark, I'll turn it back over to you.
You know, the timing is perfect. We're 2 minutes left into the hour, and it was just fantastic to see everybody's face and to hear your voices from all around the world. And Bridget, thank you so much for co-hosting this, and for Ash and Molly for facilitating it. This is such a cool idea. And as I said in the note to everyone, we plan to do this once a month. And the idea is to rotate from different constituent societies who would co-host it. So, you know, we could do one in China, or down in Japan, one in Österreich or Deutschland, and move ourselves around the world and to continue to see each other and connect. So, so thank you for being here, and thank you, Bridget, so much for co-hosting this. And we'll look forward to seeing you all in a month.
Aloha to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
It was nice to see all of you here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.